The morning everything changed started like any other Sunday family breakfast. Mom was fussing over the table settings, Dad was hidden behind his newspaper, and my sister Rachel's empty chair screamed her absence louder than any words could. "Rebecca, you're using the wrong fork again," Mom sighed, reaching across to switch my silverware. "Rachel always remembers which utensils to use. I don't understand why you can't just pay attention like she does." I was 23, holding down a successful job in software development, and still getting lectures about table etiquette. Meanwhile, Rachel was probably sleeping off another night of partying in her luxury apartment, paid for by our parents of course. "Sorry," I muttered, though I wasn't. The fork thing was just another excuse for the morning's inevitable comparison session. "And look at your hair," Mom continued, settling into her chair. "When was the last time you had it styled?" Rachel's always so put together. She takes pride in her appearance. Dad lowered his newspaper just enough to add his 2 cents. "Your sister just made junior partner at her firm, youngest in the company's history." He conveniently forgot to mention that the firm was owned by his golf buddy. I stabbed at my eggs with the apparently correct fork. "My team just launched a major project. We're expecting it to generate significant revenue this quarter." Mom waved her hand dismissively. Yes, your little computer thing, but darling, wouldn't you rather do something more prestigious? Rachel's firm handles million-dollar accounts." I bit my tongue. My little computer thing had just secured a government contract worth more than Rachel's firm saw in a year, but they'd never understand that. In their eyes, Rachel's traditional law career would always outshine my tech achievements. "Did you see Rachel's Instagram post yesterday?" Mom brightened, pulling out her phone. She looked absolutely stunning at the charity gala. All those important people there, and she just fits right in. She turned the phone to show me a photo of Rachel in a designer dress, champagne glass in hand, surrounded by Milwaukee's elite. What Mom couldn't see was that I'd written the software managing the gala's silent auction system, for free, as a favor to the charity. "You could look like that too, if you just made an effort," Mom continued. "Rachel's trainer is excellent. Maybe if you joined her gym." "I'm happy with my appearance," I said quietly, pushing my eggs around the plate. "Happy?" Mom's voice took on that sharp edge I knew too well. "Is that what you call it? Looking like you just rolled out of bed, hiding behind those glasses, wearing clothes from, where do you even shop?" "I dress professionally for my job. Hoodies and jeans aren't professional, Rebecca. When Rachel was your age, I'm not Rachel." The words burst out before I could stop them. The silence that followed was deafening. Dad's newspaper lowered slowly, and Mom's face went through a series of expressions before settling on cold disappointment. "No," she said, her voice ice cold. "You certainly are not. And you'll never be like your sister." I should have let it go, should have swallowed it down like I had 100 times before. But something inside me had finally reached its breaking point. "You're right," I said, pushing back from the table. "I'm not Rachel. I don't need Daddy's connections to get ahead. I built my career myself." Mom's face flushed red. "How dare you? Your sister worked hard for everything she has." Did she? Did she work hard for the apartment you bought her? The car, the connections, the endless stream of support and praise. She deserves those things because she makes us proud." Mom was standing now, her hands flat on the table. "She understands what it means to be part of this family." "What about what I've achieved? My company, my innovations, The slap came out of nowhere. Mom's hand connected with my cheek with enough force to snap my head to the side. The sound seemed to hang in the air, a physical thing between us. For a moment, nobody moved. Dad's newspaper had fallen to the floor. Mom's hand was still raised, her eyes wide as if she couldn't believe what she'd done. I touched my cheek, feeling the heat of the impact. 17 years of comparisons, of being the lesser daughter, of trying desperately to earn approval that would never come. All of it crystallized in that single moment of violence. I pushed my chair back slowly, deliberately. The legs scraped against the hardwood floor, the sound like nails on a chalkboard. "Rebecca," Mom started, her voice shaking. "I didn't mean." "Yes you did," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "You meant every word, every comparison, every dismissal, and you meant that slap." "Now honey," Dad finally spoke up, "your mother was just upset. You shouldn't have provoked her." I laughed, a hollow sound that seemed to come from somewhere else. "Of course, it's my fault. It's always my fault for not being Rachel." I stood up straight, feeling something shift inside me. Years of trying to shrink myself, to fit into the mold they'd created for Rachel, fell away. "Well, congratulations," I said, picking up my bag. "You're right, I'll never be like Rachel." And after today, I'll never try to be again. Where are you going? Mom's voice had that panicked edge it got whenever she wasn't in control. I turned back at the dining room doorway, touching my stinging cheek one more time. I'm going to be exactly who I am, and you're about to find out exactly what your little computer thing can do. The door slammed behind me with a finality that felt like freedom. In my car, I pulled out my phone and opened my work email. The government contract announcement was scheduled for tomorrow, along with the press release about my company's new cybersecurity platform. Rachel's law firm was one of our clients. They just didn't know it yet. Neither did the charity galas, the country club, or any of the other prestigious institutions my parents valued so much. I started the car, my cheek still burning, but my mind clearer than it had been in years. Mom was right. I'd never be like my sister. I was going to be so much more. Monday morning arrived with the kind of clarity that only comes after a lifetime of fog finally lifts. I sat in my office, watching my inbox fill with congratulatory messages about the government contract announcement. The press release had gone live at 9 a.m. sharp, and the tech world was buzzing. My phone had been vibrating non-stop since dawn, calls and texts from my parents that I continued to ignore. Rachel had tried reaching me too, probably after Mom called her crying about my outburst. At 10 a.m., my assistant Sarah poked her head in. Your sister's in the lobby. She's pretty insistent about seeing you. I glanced at my security monitors. Rachel stood in the reception area, looking perfectly polished in her designer suit, expertly styled hair, and $1,000 shoes. Everything Mom had always wanted me to be. Send her up, I said. Time to show her exactly what her computer nerd sister had built. Rachel's heels clicked purposefully across my office's hardwood floors. She paused, taking in the floor-to-ceiling windows, the sleek modern furniture, and the wall of awards my parents had never bothered to ask about. Nice office, she said, trying to maintain her usual air of superiority, but failing to hide her surprise. Mom's hysterical, by the way. Says you had some kind of breakdown at breakfast yesterday. Did she mention the part where she slapped me? Rachel shifted uncomfortably. She said you provoked her. Something about disrespecting my career. Funny how that works, I said, turning my monitor so she could see the news headlines. Want to know what your little sister's computer thing actually is? Her eyes scanned the screen, widening as she took in the headlines. Tech innovator secures $50 million. Government contract, rising star in cybersecurity. How Rebecca Chen is revolutionizing digital protection. Chen Technologies named industry leader in financial security solutions. This is yours. Rachel's perfectly maintained facade cracked slightly. But Mom and Dad said you just did basic programming or something. They never asked what I actually do, I replied, pulling up another screen. By the way, how's the new security system at your law firm working out? What do you mean? I smiled. Chen Technologies provides cybersecurity for over 70% of the law firms in this city, including yours. That $1 million accounts you're so proud of. My system protects it. Rachel sank into one of my visitor chairs, her composure finally slipping. Why didn't you ever say anything? I tried. Every Sunday breakfast, every holiday dinner, every family gathering. But you and Mom and Dad were too busy talking about your achievements to listen. Becca, don't call me that. I cut her off. You lost that right somewhere between letting them tear me down and joining in yourself. My phone buzzed again. Mom's 20th call of the morning. I declined it without looking. They're worried about you, Rachel said. Dad's upset about the things you said about my career. You mean the truth, that his connections handed you everything? I worked hard. Did you? Did you build something from nothing? Create something that actually matters? I leaned forward. When was the last time you won anything on your own merit, Rachel? She flinched as if I'd slapped her. An ironic parallel that wasn't lost on me. I'm good at what I do, she said, but her voice lacked its usual conviction. I'm sure you are, but you never had to prove it the way I did. You never had to fight for recognition or build something while everyone told you to give up. My computer pinged, another major news outlet requesting an interview. Rachel watched me decline it with a casual click. What do you want? She finally asked. An apology, recognition. I want nothing from you or them anymore, I said simply. I'm done trying to earn approval I'll never get. But since you're here, you should know. I'm withdrawing our security services from your firm next week. You can't do that. The panic in her voice was satisfying. We have major clients, sensitive information. You have 2 weeks to find a new provider. I'd suggest hurrying. Might our competitors aren't quite as thorough as we are. This is because mom slapped you. You're being childish. I laughed. No, Rachel. This is business. Your firm signed with us through a subsidiary, because nobody bothered to read the fine print. Nobody ever thought your little sister could be behind a major tech company, did they? She stood up, smoothing her skirt with trembling hands. Mom and Dad will be devastated when they find out what you've become. You mean successful, independent, everything they claimed they wanted for their daughters. I turned back to my computer. Give Mom a message for me. Tell her she was right. I'll never be like you. I'm too busy being better. After Rachel left, I sat in my quiet office, looking at the city skyline. My phone showed 5 more missed calls from Mom, 3 from Dad, and a text from Rachel. You've changed, I typed back. No, I finally stopped pretending to be someone I'm not. Sarah appeared with fresh coffee. Your parents are now in the lobby. Should I call security? I considered it for a moment, then shook my head. No, send them up. It's time they saw exactly who their daughter is. I touched my cheek where Mom's slap had landed. The sting was gone, replaced by something stronger. The knowledge that I never had to endure another Sunday breakfast comparison again. My office door opened. Mom and Dad stood there looking suddenly small against the backdrop of my success. Rebecca, Mom started, her voice wavering. We need to talk about your behavior. I smiled, turning my monitor so they could see the latest headline. Chen Technologies CEO, named one of 30, under 30, in tech innovation. Yes, I said calmly, let's talk about behavior. Have a seat. I'll show you exactly what your little computer things has become. The look on their faces as they realized the truth about their unsuccessful daughter was worth every Sunday breakfast I'd ever endured. The next few weeks unfolded like a carefully executed program, each line of code falling perfectly into place. My parents' law firm scrambled to find a new security provider, discovering quickly that our competitors charged triple our rates for half the service. Rachel's perfect image at work took its first real hit when clients learned their sensitive data protection was being downgraded. But it wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about finally being seen. The interview with Tech Weekly was the tipping point. When the journalist asked about my journey to success, I told the truth. I built this company while my family told me I was wasting my time. Every Sunday, I sat at breakfast listening to them praise my sister's conventional path while dismissing my innovations. The day my mother slapped me for defending my choices was the day I stopped seeking their approval. The article went viral. Suddenly I was more than a successful. I was a symbol for every person who'd been told they weren't good enough, every innovator who'd been dismissed, every sibling who'd lived in a shadow. Mom called crying after the article published. How could you shame our family like this? I told the truth, I replied. Isn't that what you always wanted from me? Dad tried next, his voice gruff with forced authority. This publicity stunt needs to stop. You're hurting your sister's reputation. No, Dad. Rachel's reputation was built on your connections.
I told to you.
Seder stundet di in the ben. Mine was built on my work. There's a difference. The speaking invitations started pouring in: tech conferences, women in business seminars, university commencement ceremonies. People wanted to hear from the woman who turned family disapproval into empire. 3 months after that Sunday breakfast, I stood on stage at the largest tech conference in the country. In the middle of my keynote speech about innovation and perseverance, I spotted them in the audience. Mom, Dad, and Rachel, sitting in the back row. I didn't acknowledge them. Instead, I talked about my latest project, a mentorship program for young tech entrepreneurs from unsupportive backgrounds. The Rebecca Chen Foundation would provide funding, guidance, and something I never had: belief in their potential. After the speech, they waited by the stage, while I took photos with fans and answered questions from reporters. Rachel had lost some of her polish, her firm's struggles showing in the worry lines around her eyes. Mom looked older, smaller somehow. Dad couldn't quite meet my gaze. That was impressive, Mom said when I finally reached them. We had no idea, that was the problem, I replied. You never had any idea, because you never wanted to see who I really was. We're sorry, Dad said, the words seeming to physically pain him. We should have supported you. Yes, you should have. I checked my watch. I have another interview in 10 minutes. Becca, Rachel stepped forward. The firm is struggling without your security system. Clients are leaving. My position is exactly where it should be. Hide standing on its own merit. I smiled, genuinely this time. Try it sometime. You might surprise yourself. Please. Mom reached for my arm, but stopped short, remembering perhaps how her last touch had changed everything. We're still family. I looked at them. Really looked at them. Mom's designer outfit couldn't hide her desperation. Dad's authority had crumbled in the face of my success. Rachel's perfect world was showing its cracks. Family supports each other, I said finally. Family sees each other. You never saw me until I forced you to look. What do you want from us? Dad asked. Nothing, I replied. That's the beauty of it. I don't need your approval anymore. I don't need your praise, or your acceptance or your understanding. I'm exactly who I'm supposed to be. I turned to leave, then paused. Sunday breakfasts are canceled, by the way. I have a foundation to run. As I walked away, I heard Mom's muffled sob, Rachel's frustrated sigh, Dad's heavy silence. But for the first time in my life, their reactions didn't matter. My phone buzzed, another interview request, another speaking engagement, another young entrepreneur seeking mentorship. I smiled, remembering that Sunday morning slap that had finally woken me up. Mom was right after all. I never would be like my sister. I was always meant to be so much more. The end.